Hey everybody, it is Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2 coming to you from my hot garage here in Frisco, Texas, and it's 108 degrees here in the summer right now. And I'm trying to keep the fan off because I know it's an annoying hum when I record these little garage videos on my behind the scenes channel, so I don't want to annoy you. But I may have to divide this one up a little bit just because of the heat, and I'll piece it together. I have a bunch of stuff I want to talk about today. First, let's talk some gun stuff. As you can see, I got my Mk12 Mod 0 build out today because I got some more parts. I was able to finally get some arms number 22 rings for the Clone Correct Loophole Mark IV scope. And I'm going to open those. I was also able to find a magazine, a 20-round Colt magazine. I want to talk about both these things because there's issues with that. I want to talk about also, before we get too far into the video, I want to apologize to my Patreons temporarily. As you guys know, I recently went on vacation and I was gone for a week, so I haven't made any content. I'm back, and this time of year for what I do as a music teacher, the next couple of weeks is like the most busy time of the year that I absolutely hate. It's scheduling. I have to figure out all the things I got to do, where to put every student and every obligation I have throughout the week. It's like putting together a puzzle that you don't know what it's supposed to look like. And I end up spending hours and hours and hours on it. So I'm not pumping out as much content as I have been over the summer, but I will be getting back into it. Hopefully I'll be going to the range in the next day or so and filming some content there. But if you're a Patreon supporter, please don't give up on me. I haven't forgotten about you. Just know that the content is coming. It is just between vacation and what I have to do for my job. It's just a busy like 2 or 3 weeks. So please bear with me and forgive me for that. And then I also want to talk about, I guess I'm going to say something that's hypocritical. I want to talk about some gun law stuff. More specifically about New Jersey and the new requirements in a post-Bruin world for having a concealed weapons license, and how some people are reacting to those requirements, and then also how they act online. But we'll talk about that when I get there. Let's talk about my Mk12 Mod 0 today. I went to a gun show. In fact, you can see I even got stamped to get in the gun show. And I went with one thing in mind because I can't find these parts anywhere else. I need a magazine for this thing, and I need a Clone Correct magazine. And what would be Clone Correct for Mk12 Mod 0 is either going to be a Colt 20-round magazine or a OK Industries 20-round magazine. Now, OK Industries is an OEM manufacturer for Colt, so essentially Colts are OK Industries. They're just marked as Colts. And the reason it has to have a 20-round magazine is because of the bipod and the fact that this is the shorter bipod. And if you run a 30-round magazine, which obviously functionally would be fine, when you have it in use of the bipod, it would hit the ground. So you got to have a shorter magazine. And it appears from my research that OK Industries, I don't know if they're out of business or if they've just stopped making magazines. So all the magazines you can buy that are aluminum magazines currently are by other manufacturers. And you can't buy any of the GI type magazines, especially the ones that are 20 rounders. So every place online is sold out, or it says discontinued by the manufacturer. But I knew I could find one at a gun show. And I haven't been to a gun show in a long time because I'm at a point in my gun collecting and clone rifle building that there's nothing at gun shows that I really need or am interested in, which I can talk about as well. But I was able to pick up a genuine Colt 20-round magazine. You know, I guess the date code on this one is from 2019. And that's when OK Industries stopped making magazines, or at least releasing them for civilians. So I don't know what's up with that. But I was able to pick up a proper magazine for this that's marked correctly. You know, gun shows, for me, have changed. When I first got into guns, I don't know, about 15 years ago, gun shows were very different than they are today. They were often, I mean, you had the new dealers, people selling new guns and stuff, but you had a lot of tables with older people selling their collections or showing off their collections or selling antiques, milsurp guns and all that. And when I was first getting into guns, that stuff didn't interest me. I was more into the new stuff. But now that I'm older and I'm into clone rifle builds and historical firearms, I wish I could go back in time, because the gun shows today are mainly new dealers selling new guns. I mean, there are some people there selling older stuff, and that's where I found one of these, because I knew some of those big magazine dealers would have, tons of stock of these. And, but yeah, I kind of wish I could go back in time, because gun shows today are so different, well, especially around here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, than they were 15 years ago. And I kind of miss the old days. They seem to be smaller now, and it's just, essentially, it's a place where a bunch of gun stores just come to one place and, show off their wares instead of having to go to multiple gun stores. And I don't always find great deals there, and I only go if I got to find something very specific like this. So I was able to find a Clone Correct magazine. So I'm going to insert it here in the Mark 12. I'm going to do it off camera like I had to do before, because I told you in the past, YouTube has called inserting a magazine into a firearm gun modification, which I don't want to get in trouble with, especially here on the Texas Gun Vault 2 for something so silly and trivial. So you guys know what it looks like to insert a magazine into a firearm, right? So I'm going to turn around here. You can't see it, so I'm not offending anybody. And there we go. So there is the 20-round magazine in the Mark 12. Now, let's talk about the other thing that I had been searching for, and you guys helped me. In fact, I think my friend Michael helped me with this one. I finally got a set of the Arms number 22 throw lever rings for the loophole scope. Now, these are the medium height. Now, the high ones and the low ones seem to be in stock in a lot of places. The medium ones, which were the ones that were issued with the Mark 12 Mod 0, are out of stock everywhere. And the only place that had these were Charlie's Custom Clones. And they're a gun store, I guess, in, is it Maryland, maybe? Anyway, it's somewhere in the north, or Virginia. Virginia is where they're at. And they got stuff that no one else has, all the stuff for the clone rifles, and you pay a little bit of a premium for it. But often they have stuff nobody else has, or if it's out of stock everywhere else, they have it. And so I paid a little bit more than what other places offer these for, but they don't have them in stock. So I was like, I need these. So that is why I bought them. Now, the people that are really the clone clowns, the people that nitpick every build, will say these are not right. However, they are right. They're made by the same manufacturer as the originals, but they are a little bit different than the ones that were made around the year 2000. Because the number 22 Arms scope rings originally did not have a lever arm stop. So you could essentially take that arm and go all the way, 180 degrees with it. But at some point in the manufacturing process, I don't know, 2012, 2013, they began to make the same product, but with a lever stop arm. So it's like this little raised area. In fact, let me open one of these up. Coated in oil. But yeah, so like when it comes to the arm here, that's as far out as you can make it go, right there. The other ones you could go all the way. And those are the ones that are clone correct, and the ones that are highly desired, because that's the way they were issued in 2000 and in the era of this gun. But if you didn't know that, you wouldn't know any difference, because everything looks the same except for that little ledge. So now the only thing on this rifle that I need to really get, I need a Colt bolt carrier and bolt, which I know I can get. Those aren't hard to find. But when it comes to the scope rings, for the ring that it's going to go in the front, I need to get the part that is elevated so you can put a rail on it for like a red dot. Those two parts and then the bolt carrier are what I really need to complete this. And then, of course, I have to wait on the tack stand for the suppressor. So that's what's happening here. And so I'm going to go ahead and clean these up. I'm going to install them. And like I said before, I'm not going to do it on camera because of stupid YouTube rules. I would hate to have some type of strike or community guidelines violation in the future if they change their rules because, you know, I put a scope or I show putting rings on a scope on a rifle on camera. So I'm going to take a break here, turn on the fan, make this room a little bit cooler, clean these up, put it on the scope, mount the scope. I'll come back to you, and then we're going to talk about a few other things. So I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so we got this scope mounted. I went online, I double-checked pictures of U.S. military personnel using the Mark 12 Mod 0, making sure that I put everything as close as I could to how they generally set them up. Now, as I said, there are no specifics. You know, any end user could tailor it to their own desires, but in general, you can see how the military personnel use them. So for example, the scope rings are not the same. You have one for the front, one for the back, because the arms go in different directions. And pretty much everybody mounts them where the levers are facing each other. I also made sure to give myself plenty of room so the scope still had the correct eye relief, but does clear the backup iron sights so the iron sights don't hit the scope. And I'm able to, of course, open up the lens caps. So everything seems to be set. I spent a lot of time making sure that the reticle is centered and level. So with the magazine and the scope rings, this thing is turning out to be pretty cool. As I mentioned, I only got to get the different scope ring top to the front and the rail that would go on that part, as well as the Colt bolt carrier and bolt. And then just wait on the suppressor. And this thing will probably be pretty darn complete. And for the most part, I would say 95% clone correct. So I'd be happy with it at that point. So what do you guys think? A lot of time and research has gone into this, and this is why I love clone rifles. Yeah, I just like to geek out on stuff. So that's everything for the Mark 12. All right, so let's talk about, in fact, hold on a second here. I'm going to get a paper towel because it is hot as heck out here, and my big old bald head is sweating. Woo! Man, it's hot. So, let's talk about a couple things. Number one, that New Jersey law. You know, one of the channels that I watch on a regular basis is Washington Gun Law. And William Kirk over there, I think, does a great job. He's one of the few legal firearms channels that doesn't clickbait. He just tells you what's going on, and he makes you aware of stuff going on around the country. And he recently made a video about the New Jersey concealed carry law and the requirements. Now that they have to have a concealed carry permit that's attainable by most citizens, they have a training requirement. And he made a video, I think he titled New Jersey, you can only qualify if you're John Wick. Essentially meaning you have to be an amazing shot. So I watched the video, and he's absolutely right. One of the requirements to get your license is you have to have 40 rounds on target at these various distances, and one of those distances is 25 yards. Now, I shoot at 25 yards in most of my range reports. And I can tell you, depending on the firearm, that can actually be kind of tough, even if you're experienced. And I can tell for most people that would be novice shooters, that's going to be really, really difficult. But he also made a good point that in New Jersey, if you even discharged a firearm at somebody in self-defense and they were 25 yards away, most likely they're going to say you didn't actually need to use your firearm. So requiring people to shoot at that distance to attain a permit, but most likely a DA would say, why were you shooting somebody at that distance? And you could get in trouble for that, is pretty ridiculous. But he made some great points, and definitely that law needs to be, and those training requirements need to be adjudicated in court and need to be, the state needs to be sued over them. But I was reading the comments of that video, and it was really surprising to me to see so many people agreeing that 25 yards is an unrealistic distance for most shooters to be accurate and to put into a very small and tight group. Now, the reason I say I was surprised about that is in many of my videos, which, by the way, I am not a competition shooter. I do not claim to be an expert shot. I always advertise myself as an average gun guy. And I show you the actual footage. If I'm not very good with a firearm, I don't spend 800 or 900 rounds with the gun and just cherry pick the footage and go, well, I was really good with that magazine. I figured it out after 200 rounds. I'm going to use that and make it look like I'm some type of expert shot. Well, some guns, literally the first magazine, I have groupings that are this big at 10, 15, 20 yards. And then some firearms, even at 7 yards, man, it's like looks like a shotgun pattern. And that's just because some guns are more natural shooting for me. I tell people it's my personal experience and opinions about these guns, and I just show you what happens. Now, you might have the same model, and it fits your hand great, and the way the sights are set up, it's perfect for you. So your experiences may not mirror mine. Your experiences may vary. But something that I get criticized often in my range reports on is they'll say at 25 yards with various firearms, you need to be a better shot. Okay. And it's a valid criticism. I'm always trying to improve, right? Normally, I'm going to get everything on the silhouette, but I think people are expecting, because maybe they watch Jerry Michalek or 22 Plinkster or whoever your favorite trick shot or expert marksman is that you enjoy watching, you're used to that. So you begin to assume everybody can do that, or everybody can do something close to it because that's what they do. And you're like, well, I can do it. Everyone's always going to think that they're a better shot than what they actually are. Let's just be honest. It's like your opinions or anything in life. The way you do it's the best, right? Very few people go around and go, well, this is the way I do it, but I know it's completely wrong. Everyone's like, well, I'm special. It's the way I do it. And of course, I'm better than most. It's because we exist from our own perspective and, of course, are always going to defend ourselves and like the way that we do things. So when it comes to my reviews, and I'll show a gun that maybe it's not very naturally shooting for me, I'm not very accurate with it, people go, you're not very good. Everybody should be able to do it. I can do it with my eyes closed. That kind of stuff. Okay, fair point. Sometimes I review a gun, not good. I'm not good with it. That's fine. But then I'm kind of surprised that a vast majority of gun owners now are like, oh my God, they're asking us to shoot. Are these people in New Jersey to shoot at 25 yards? It's just too far. How dare them? Well, I always say I'm just an average gun guy, but when I shoot at 25 yards, all of a sudden there's this problem, right? Oh my gosh, your group was this big, not this big. You're an idiot. You're a terrible shot. But then New Jersey's like, well, you got to shoot at 25 yards, and you just got to get it on the silhouette. Oh my God! And everyone's like, fans issues with it. Now, obviously, I don't think that the 25-yard test is really needed for a concealed carry permit, because most of your engagements, according to the FBI, will be at 7 feet and less, and you shoot 3 shots. And as I mentioned before, legally, if you're shooting at someone at that distance, you can get in trouble because you might not be in imminent danger, or you might potentially endanger other people that aren't involved in the self-defense scenario. So that can be used against you. So obviously, I think the 25-yard test is stupid, but on the other hand, some people are now, feigning, oh my gosh, I can't believe 25 yards. But then when I shoot at 25 yards, they're like, everybody shoots at 25 yards. That's like the beginner level for most people. You're an idiot, Jason. You're a terrible shot. So which is it? Is 25 yards unrealistic for the average gun person? Or is 25 yards something that everybody should do with minimal training, minimal time on a firearm? Because I just find that it's funny that it's situational for a lot of people. Now, I didn't see anybody commenting on that video being the same people that comment on my videos. So I'm not saying that there's some type of connection or correlation. I just like to look at the gun community in aggregate, the general consensus of what I see. Because I mentioned before, I look at gun content online, I think a little bit different than most, because I'm constantly looking at comments, because people are commenting on my videos 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I get notified on my phone through the YouTube creator app. So I'm answering that stuff all the time. And you guys got to know that I answer pretty much every comment that I get. And so I read them all. And so I see all this, and I kind of get a sense of what the general consensus is. What's, of course, then I go to other videos of content creators that I like, and I'll read the comments to get other people's thoughts and opinions. And then I find these disconnects. It's like on one hand, everyone is like, man, I really want to get a suppressor. I hate the fact the wait times, but I got like 5 suppressors. And then we have the pistol brace rule, and they're like, hey, you got to register this. And they're like, oh, they're going to know what you have. I can't believe it. It's like, well, hold on a second. On one hand, you're like, you've already registered SBRs, but now you're upset that they're asking you to register the pistol as an SB. And you're saying it's this grand infringement, but yet you do that. But you understand what I'm saying. It always seems to be so situational with gun owners and what the thing is at the moment. So, yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk about and think about. Sometimes I think about these things from a different perspective sometimes. And it doesn't mean I've, formulated my final thoughts. But what do you guys think? Do you guys see this type of hypocrisy where just in the moment people can be upset, but then on the other hand, on another day when things aren't really, an issue, they have a different opinion? So anyway, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. Show off the Mk12, how it's coming along, talk about the New Jersey gun law thing, talk about gun shows, how they've changed over time. I think I wanted to talk about something else, but I've been out here for a while and I'm sweating like crazy. So I've already forgotten what else I was going to talk about. So I may talk about that in a different video. I'll have to edit this thing and I'll go back and go, oh yeah, I was supposed to talk about that. But I've been out here for like an hour putting all this on here. So I think I've talked enough. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and I will of course catch you in the next video. So as always, thanks for watching.